liberty, and justice for all.
Hey, if you could do roll call, please.
Keisha Johnner,
Here.
Jim Mueller. Here. Steve McCombs. Here.
I'll entertain a motion for today's agenda.
Move to approve today's agenda.
Second. McCombs. Aye. Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. Communication? Jake? Board, do we have any communication?
I have none. Nothing from my.
Okay, all right. On to public comments. This is the portion of the agenda which we will hear from the public that is not on the agenda below. These could become future topics for future meetings. Is there any public comments? Seeing anything on it?
This might be the appropriate time.
Again.
You say not on the agenda?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if it's not on the agenda.
Sure,
Yep.
sure. Brian Phillips, Pleasantville. I was here in November to bring up the engine brake possible ordinance. Hadn't heard anything or seen anything. Just wondered what the status was of that possibility.
All right, Brian. At this point, I don't know that we'll comment, but I do appreciate you making that as a public comment. So we can discuss further and what we want to do as a board. So, okay, thank you. Anybody else for public comments? All right. Entertain a motion for today's consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve today's consent agenda.
Support.
Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
On up to business. This morning, item number 1 is the Stepping Up Innovator for the county. And this is, my understanding is Darcy Alt is online. And Darcy's gonna kind of explain to the board what this is. Good morning, Darcy.
Good morning. Hi, I am Darcy Alt. I am the CEO for the Heart of Iowa Community Services region. We currently provide your jail alternative services in your Marion County Jail. And I am not sure when you all would have passed your Stepping Up resolution, probably many years ago. A lot of our counties in Iowa participate in the NACO Stepping Up initiative, which is to reduce recidivism in our county jails. And we look at that as a huge outcome that we want to ensure that we're providing in the county jail, which is through a variety of different avenues. We have Shannon Stewart providing those services in your jail. I think she's online here. I see her. So what she is doing in the jail is evaluating for services, evaluating for whether it's the need for mental health evaluations, SUD evaluations, getting into treatment, community services, all of those things. And while she's doing all of that, we are keeping all of that data to ensure that we are having those successful outcomes. So as a Stepping Up Innovator County, we're doing things utilizing a shared definition of serious mental illness, screening every person that comes in. We're tracking and analyzing all of that data that comes in to ensure that we are actually having the outcomes that we're shooting for. So one of the cool things about the Innovator Counties is there's actually only 53 in the nation. Marion County would be the 54th. There are only 3 in Iowa right now. Dallas, Guthrie, and Polk are the 3. Marion County would be the 4th. And it does not cost the county anything. It does not cost the region anything. What we actually do is take what we know, what we've learned, and we share with other counties across the nation if they have questions about what we're doing, what we've learned, how we've developed these outcomes, such as utilizing telehealth in the jail, how we utilize inpatient treatment, those types of things, how we work with the courts. We actually are able to share our knowledge. I have a call once a month with other Innovator counties across the nation. I actually have my call this afternoon with those, and we talk about different things that we've done. We may have different calls at different times during the month with maybe counties or different programs that are trying to start things so that we can help them figure out how they want to go down that road, what types of programs they want to develop. It's been very, very beneficial to us to learn, but also to new programs that are coming up. And so one of the things that we have to do in this process of Marion County becoming an innovator county is the board just needs to accept. That's one of those things that I did have one other county that had the option of becoming an innovator county, but they just couldn't, they just didn't want to sign off on it because they just always felt that they would have to pay money or something to become an innovator county. And in all the times that we've been doing this, there's never been any output other than data from any county to be a part of the innovator counties. I want to reassure you of that. We've had nothing but benefit from being innovator counties, benefit to ourselves and benefit to others.
All right, I appreciate that, Darcy. One question I would have for you, would this program change at all with the change coming in July, or is this still going to be going on?
The program stays the same. The only thing that we find different is it just may be different folks reporting the data. And it's just like a quarterly request for data from the innovator folks. We would put them in touch with somebody else to provide that data, depending on who we still have around at that time. And we are figuring out, we're having some different discussions around how we might be able to continue some of our programs. So that's still a matter of discussion, and hopefully we'll get something worked out so that maybe we'll still have some of the same people around to do that. Fingers crossed.
Or do you have any questions?
Well, I guess the only question I have is I'd like to have Jason's thoughts on this, what he, how much work that's gonna be for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lieutenant Caius isn't with us today. He's out sick today with sick, and also his kids are sick. So far, I don't think there's been any issues or anything in regards to it. The only thing I would want to double check with him is just to make sure we're compliant on the information and everything, which I think we are right now. It's just, I think your question on July 1, where's that going to go? So I'm not against it or anything. I think actually there's been some good work done in regards to the jail on it, but I just would like a little bit of time to follow up with him to make sure if that's okay with you guys.
Okay. So you're saying you wouldn't want us to necessarily vote on this today?
Well,
or
I
want us
think
to-
since a lot of the information comes from him and I'm just not familiar with that, I mean, in all honesty, he handles it. I just want to make sure he's good with it. And he was planning on being here today, but unfortunately he can't be, so if we
Yeah,
can.
so I can kind of answer that as well. We actually are the keepers of the data. Shannon is actually collecting all the data in her evaluations. We keep it all in our statewide system at this time. So I think that can kind of help mitigate some of those questions, but definitely if you feel the need to talk to Lieutenant Caius, he has been fabulous to work with, so feel free to
Or
do.
to be clear, it's somebody else that does the data collection. It's not.
Well, it's in through
Jason's
our
department.
jail. I just want to make sure with
It's-
him.
It's
Yeah.
through your group, but
Yeah.
there's always a cost associated with information collection. So that would be my question is who collects it? What's that process? Is it a burden or, what is the cost associated with that data collection and who covers that cost?
Darcy, is there any timelines in regards to, I mean, if we wait 2 weeks just to have him double check to make sure, is there any like timelines that we're up against or anything in regards to this?
No, there's no timeline. I think we've been sitting on this for quite a while so far, so not a big deal. But as far as cost associated with collecting the data, Shannon's doing all that through interviews, and we have the evaluations done through Flow State. So all of that, so far the regions pick up those costs through Flow State or through the SUD evaluations, and then those will continue on through IPCA I believe that Flow State's already got their contract sorted out through them, so no cost to the county, as far as those evaluations.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not against it. I just like, since he's touching it daily or whatever, I'd just like his input is the only thing on my end.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
See, no problem with that, okay,
I would suggest that we hold it over for 2 weeks and then we'll address it in 2 weeks
okay.
after
Yeah.
we've had time
Yeah.
to.
And Darcy, if you're good with that, and also Darcy, if you wouldn't mind, this is kind of a little off the subject, but deals with you. If we could set up a Zoom possibly with the sheriff, and myself and you on regarding, the mental health deputy. If we could do something, if we could set some, some sort of data, just the three of us have a Zoom and further discuss. Are you good with that? If I send
Yeah,
out-
if you want to send me some dates that might work for you guys, I'll see what I can work in with my schedule.
Okay, great. I appreciate it, Darcy. And then, in 2 weeks, we'll put this on and then, we should be able to vote and go from there, okay? I appreciate
right.
you coming on this morning and, no further questions. I'll entertain a motion to close discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy.
Move to close discussion.
Second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
On to item number 2. This is ordinance 2025-1, which is the approve of the second reading proposed Marion County ordinance of 2025-1. Board, we had this the last meeting. We approved the first reading. Didn't know if there was any further questions for the board. For Carrie, Carrie's with us this morning. Missy is out. But we are thankful to have her. So I do know in your staff report, it's my understanding the DOT did get back to us.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep. And they've signed off and said there would be no additional turning lane or any other intersection needs for this subdivision.
All right. So no issues there.
Were any other concerns issued by any of the nearby residents or anything
No,
associated with the
Nick
development?
Hines with Sunset Acres actually reached out to Dale Witzenberg about his concerns with drainage, I believe, and fencing. And that, I believe, went well. I've not heard anything further from Dale or any other neighbor.
Okay.
So,
If you don't have any further questions, entertain a motion for ordinance 2025-1, approving second reading.
I make a motion, we approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-1.
I'll second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
I
Johnner.
Aye.
move we waive the third reading.
Okay, all right, so, do you want us to go ahead, I'll entertain a motion for, ordinance 2025-1, so you made, which would be waiving the third, Jim, and I'll second.
So waive the third and approve final.
Yep.
Good. Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Thank you, yes, appreciate that. We can give you a few minutes if you want to clear out, if you want to stay with us, you can, so just didn't want you to feel like you had to, so. Thank you.
Government in action, right?
Right, exactly. On to item number 4, this is Impact Community Action Partnership Update. Good morning, Ann, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
Thank you.
You're gonna want to stay because this is gonna be so riveting.
Right? Ann is always entertaining. Thank you, Ann, for making the drive down.
Yeah, and I want to start off, you have a couple pieces of information about us. And one of the things I wanted to note on the first page is a thank you to Keisha Johnner for her service on our board of directors. Thank you so much. I know Jim will be great, but you got a lot to live up to with the work she did.
I've been hearing that the bar is always set pretty high.
I'll tell you what. We wanted to come and just kind of give a little reminder about the work Impact Community Action does in the county, how we assist with the families here and how it interacts. Last fiscal year, we served 708 families, 1,555 residents, 572 of those were under the age of 18. And there's just a few things of note. Right before the pandemic, I think we actually have a date on here. Prior to 2020, the county provided in-kind space to Impact. So we didn't have to pay rent or overhead or anything like that. And when that was no longer available, that intersected with the start of COVID. And so in two of our counties now, Jasper and Marion, we don't keep a physical location, but what we do is home visits for families who cannot do well with our either online work or through the phone. And we do pop-up events, especially during our busiest time of LIHEAP, and that continues to go on. We are always looking for funding sources to support housing support programs. It's one of the most in-demand issues for families, and we wanted to point that out. Then we brought some poverty data, just so you can have a little understanding of the numbers in your county. 5,616 Marion County residents have income below 185% of the federal poverty guidelines. That would be about $47,767 for a household of 3. Only 1.77% of Marion County households, which is a total of 236 households, receive what is generally known as welfare or public assistance or cash assistance. It's extraordinarily low. Part of that has to do with how cash welfare works. A lot of people think people in poverty get welfare. My best example of one of the challenges with that is in 1989, I lived in Iowa and I had a child by myself and I was on public cash welfare, and the amount I received was $365 a month. If I had a child alone today, the amount of money I would receive is $365 a month. And so cash welfare, those welfare supports that people think are there are not. And it's one of the reasons our work continues to be so in high demand and needed. You also have a little history here. We've been doing some digging. Community action, the work we do has been around since 1964 when Congress passed the Economic Opportunity Act. In 1965, 36 counties, including Marion, established a community action committee, and regionalization of that happened in 1967. From 1968 to 1976, there was an entity called Greater Opportunities that served Warren, Jasper, Marion, and Polk counties. That evolved into Red Rock Community Action in 1976. And then in 2015, Red Rock took over the work that the city of Des Moines was doing around community action. And that is who we are and what we've been doing. We're not coming with any ask today other than for you to be aware of the work we do, to be aware that we are working diligently to serve the community here, and to ask you to consider. I've been taught throughout my life that the real work of politics happens locally. That what happens locally has a much larger impact on the individuals we serve, typically, than it does on federal levels. But one thing I wanted to let you know is when you look at the median household income in Marion County, that's right at the middle. If you lined up all of the households, the middle one would be $74,193. However, when we look at Common Good Iowa and what it costs for that same family of 4 to consistently meet their basic needs, that's food, shelter, utilities, transportation, childcare, the most basic things. That family needs just short of $76,000 a year. So that indicates that about half of the residents of Marion County cannot consistently meet their basic needs. And we provide some of that through utility assistance, farmers market. We help process farmers market applications. We help with rent reimbursement. But we're always looking for ways to lift that burden a little bit for the families of Marion County. And we appreciate any support the county gives us, and would be happy to hear any questions or concerns, comments.
And I appreciate it. Do you know, and I don't know when you give these numbers, do you know how many of them are new or versus like reoccurring on the visits? Or-
Typically, we would be able to tell you.
Okay.
We've changed data systems.
Okay.
Both the state of Iowa and Impact changed data systems. And when we did that, we lost access to our prior system, and we can get hard numbers, like the number of people we served, the types of services they got. But we have a very difficult time right now flipping that. But in a year, we should be able to tell you comparatively, starting moving forward.
That'd be nice, yeah.
It would be it's a great number to ask about, but I apologize that we can no longer get that for right now.
And then, and I think it's important that the board understands a little bit about how, in Marion County, we have some maybe food shelf places,
Mhm,
whereas I
mhm.
know other locations, like you guys do have some food shelf places. So can you kind of, summarize for the, yeah.
Yes,
So how our
every
area
3
looked like.
years, by federal rules and by best practice, we do full community assessments of the areas we serve. And part of that assessment is to identify unmet needs or where there's higher pockets of need than there are services. So over the course of time, Marion County had resources available for that, and some of our areas didn't. And so we have a food pantry in Boone that's pretty robust. We have one in Ankeny, Iowa, and we have one in the Drake area. And that again was due to the other areas having that. We're in the midst this year of doing our assessment. And so if it came about that Marion was having pockets of areas that were not able to get their food needs met, then we would probably look at whether or not we needed to add that to our services here. But we do gear the services towards as close to the local area as possible.
Okay.
Does that make
Alright.
sense?
What does Carla ask something? The average family size is just over 2 persons. Therefore, most families are 1 third person. So 74,000 does not meet their needs. Okay.
No, if I
Yeah.
can speak.
Oh, it does.
She was,
Alright.
it
Yeah.
does meet their needs. She was saying that if a 4-person household, that 74,000 does not meet their needs, which is correct, but not all of our households are 4-person households in Marion County. So therefore, most of our households are 1- and 2-person households. So you can't say that half our households are not being met by the 74,000.
Yeah, the other way to look at it is for a single person all by themselves, they need $18.76 an hour. And so the next question would be, how many of the jobs in Marion County provide that level of income for a single person? And at Common Good Iowa, you can see it for all the different family sizes. You can see it for a single person, 2 people without children, 2 people with 1 child. There's a whole lot of ways to look at that. And so we just want people to understand that there are probably more people struggling than you know, is the message.
Okay. All right. Board, do you have any questions for Ann?
No,
I have no questions other than to say I'm looking forward to working with you and learning all there is to know about impact and how we can benefit within the county.
Yeah, and we're certainly proud of our work. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Ann.
thank you, Ann. Appreciate
that
what
we're
you
coming.
do.
So, yep. With that, I'll entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Second. Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Hi,
Mueller,
Aye.
On to item number 5, which is the FY26 Marion County proposed property tax notice. This is setting the public hearing date.
yes, I can just a few words on that if you want. So feels like a long time ago, but it was still earlier this month that we met. The board met with all the departments for a week, working through budget and things like that. We are still working on that process after all the motions were put in place. There's quite a process to go through approving a county budget. We have to go through this proposed tax notice or max levy amount of tax dollars you're going to ask for, publications, a public hearing, all those steps with all the notices. Once that's done, then we will set our second public hearing date for the actual budget hearing, which will be the end of April. So this is just continuing the process that was started in early February. All the departments made their revisions, submitted them in to us. We've consolidated all the data, entered onto the state system. We now need, the way I've put together the schedule, it looks to me like meeting the requirements set by the state for the calendar and things like that. During your next board meeting on the the 25th, it's not your next one, I guess, the 25th of March, we would hold a special meeting. The last couple of years, we did it like 15 minutes prior to your regular meeting because it has to be a standalone meeting.
Okay.
We'll have a public hearing with that notice of the max levy. This information will also be included in the letters that will go out of my office in March. There's a deadline of the 5th that all cities and schools and counties have to submit data onto the Department of Management website. And then each county then takes that information and sends out the letters, the max levy notice letters with everybody's public hearings. That's why there's certain dates that it has to fit the window.
Mhm.
We'll have this hearing on the 25th based off the information that we have. And then hopefully the regular meeting will set the next public hearing date. You have to wait for the first one to set the second one. And then do those notices, publications, put it in the newspaper and hold their regular budget hearing and consideration at the end of April.
So Jake, so that I make sure I understand the process and the public understands, when you send out this letter, this is a letter that is for the schools, the city, and ourselves, right?
Correct.
And that is something that obviously the state has mandated that we do. But just so everybody knows, the state doesn't give us extra money to do that. That is on us. It's something
Yeah.
that we are thankful that Jake takes care of and helps us with this process. But just another added layer of duty that goes on to his office as auditor. So, yeah.
So this notice will be the maximum, we'll set a maximum that you can levy. If you would want to in the second or when you consider the regular budget, the levy could go down, it just can't go up. And also the notice includes estimated taxes. So I know last year was the first year, I think they went out to taxpayers, and they also go out right when the treasurer's office collecting second half taxes. So the treasurer's office had to field a lot of questions and things on what's the max levy notices and then paying second half taxes. So kind of the same time frame. But this, they did make some adjustments from last year. So these notices will go out with the cities, the schools, and the counties. Estimated tax asks, and it's only for like the general funds, like general fund, general supplemental, and rural services, not debt services. And it also just makes some assumptions. So for residential properties, it estimates at $100,000 value home. And it actually is estimating a 10% increase in value. So it's basing out off from 100,000 to 110. And then for commercial industrial, it's from 300 to 330,000. So that's kind of something new from last year, but that's kind of an estimated tax notice. It does not mean that's what your taxes will be or go up. It's not a tax bill. It's just an informational letter, and also making sure everybody knows when the city, the school, or the county's public hearings are.
Okay. All right.
So really, we just need for you to officially set the date of the 25th. Later today or tomorrow, we'll submit Department of Management website. So we're meeting that deadline and moving forward, waiting for everybody else.
Board, do you have any questions? No, I'll entertain a motion to set the public hearing for 3/25/25.
Move that we set the public hearing for March the 25th of 25.
Second, thank you, Jake.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. On to item number 6, which is resolution 2025-25. This is the Marion County General Safety Manual. Morning, Lisa.
Good morning. I come
coming
to you
up.
as co-chair of the safety committee, and we have approved the general safety manual as the safety committee. Just for those that aren't aware, we do have a safety committee here in Marion County that is, each department is represented. We had some really good discussions lately. We have a lot of new people and a lot of good new ideas. Jeff and I co-chair the safety committee, and annually we sit down with our work comp carrier, I'm WCA, and go through policies and all kinds of good things. So this comes as a recommendation from our work comp carrier. So basically what it is just reminding people what their safety responsibilities are. If they have an accident, how to report it. We will investigate each accident. There's forms, training, and then also the return to work. So when an employee may be injured, can come back to work, but in a light duty capacity, we have some paperwork that we complete and have the employees sign.
I know this has been a
Ongoing project.
process, yeah, and
Yes.
it has been in the last several months, and I appreciate all those departments sending somebody in representation. And I'm glad that it's presented to the board, so. Board, I don't know if you have any questions for Lisa in regarding this safety manual? Hope you don't. Entertain a motion for resolution 2025-25.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-25.
Second.
Mueller,
I,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
And Lisa, we get you for item number 7 too.
Yes, so item number 7 is a resolution to set the rates for our health, dental, and vision program. As many of you know, let's start with health. The health rate came in at just under 2% renewal rate, which is it was approximately 1.94 to be exact. This proposal in front of you then assumes the county will take that 2% and we will keep the employee portion of the health insurance premiums as they are. So there will be no increase to the employees this year for their health insurance. The total increase was just over $45,000.
Right at 45,000, yeah.
So this proposal has the county covering that 45,000.
Yep, so no change.
So no
at all
change to the employees.
on the medical side, yep.
Okay, any questions on the medical? Steve? No, okay.
No.
Okay, so then the dental plan, we have talked extensively about wanting to change the dental plan, make some changes to that, make it maybe a little more affordable. Keisha and I have had many discussions on the dental plan, and many thoughts, many ideas of changing. But what we have found is that we would like to keep the dental plan as it is today. Because we have a to-go program that maxes our employees out at $2,000 if they don't use their benefit in the given year. If we change, our rollover. If we change plans, we lose our rollover. So so we did look at different options. I want everybody to know that we did try really hard. We learned we can't have our cake and eat it too, but so what we did, we met with the auditor's office and came up with a plan to reduce, because we are self-funded in our dental plan, we can set our rates. And we were set to decrease our rates just a tad from our renewal with Delta Dental. So we kind of ran through some numbers and we came as a group and decided that we would decrease the dental premiums by 10% for everybody. So single and family would see a 10% decrease. The county would contribute 10% less also because we are self-funded. Any questions?
I just have a comment.
Sure.
I mean, going through the numbers, it still astounds me that the employee, the county pays $20.20 in support of their dental. But as a family, once you sign up for family, the employee pays more and the county pays less. simply because you've signed up for a family. So I guess I don't understand why the county doesn't at least pay an equal amount for either an employee or a family plan. I mean, granted, it's only $3 and some odd cents, $3.86. But it just defies logic to me that if I'm an employee and I have only my own plan, the county pays $20.26. But if I sign up for a family plan, the amount that the county supports both for me and my family goes down. That to me defies logic. I would like input because I would make a recommendation that we approve this as long as those are equal. Otherwise, I'm gonna vote no. I don't understand that.
Your question.
And you are totally spot on. It goes way back. And
Times are changing.
times, and I get it, and that's why I said, this is what I'm bringing to you, and the three of you all have a vote. I don't disagree with you.
The hard part, and we did look at this, the hard part is, when you're looking at a family, it's a family plan. So if you have one child, 6 child, 10 children, I mean, you know what I mean? So the deductible part of that, with it being self-funded. Could we do that? Yes, but we were just looking, what we were trying to do is because we contemplated that. And then we said we were trying to do 10%, just looking at it 10%. And then hoping next year that we could take bits and consider, I didn't want to do a drastic change. And that was why we come up with what we did. But ultimately, that's why we discussed this as a board, right? So, that is something that, I mean, we could have Lisa rework. If you
Absolutely.
want her to rework.
Absolutely.
It's just, we need to probably kind of know what that, we only say $3, but I mean, we just want to make sure that everybody is,
Yeah,
we get the
and
impact
I can
and-
definitely take that back and make that change and bring it to the next meeting. We are, I would have to have it approved next meeting, just so we can move forward with our renewal books and so forth. But if that's what the board chooses to do, I'm happy to do that.
I mean,
When is your meetings, Lisa, on this?
We have set there, I don't know the exact date, sorry, it's the last week of April
Okay.
that we have set our dates. I want to say the 25th and 26th. Let me look.
It's fine. It's just, I want to make
Late
sure.
April.
Make sure that, I want to make sure that all employees know when these dates are, because I do think that there's an education piece when it comes to renewal. So I'm asking that you send it out to all employees and make sure that they're notified of that, okay?
When our dates are.
Yep,
We've
okay.
already reserved spots on Holmes Murphy's team on the calendar. So I will get that out to everybody.
So
I
that
don't
they
have the
can-
time
so they
slots
can
yet.
Plan, right? Yep.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Steve, do you have questions in regarding?
No, but I don't disagree with Jim. It'd just be nice to look that over.
At one time, they were the same, and then we went to we charged the employees 5%. I can give you all the history, but
doesn't matter.
it doesn't, yeah, it's in the past, so we can move forward. I think Renee just put them up there. It's April 23rd and 24th. So I will go ahead and get that email sent to all employees, just to, hey, heads up, these are the days we're gonna have meetings. And then I just wanted to let you know too, to finish out the resolution, the vision plan did not make any changes. So, so if you're good with that, I can come back next meeting, make the change, for 2020 for both on the dental plan, and then we'll get that resolution signed. Sound
That would
good?
be my- that would
That's
be my
fine.
suggestion.
Nope, that's why we do this, and I think that's important, and I think it's great discussion, so.
Yes, thank you.
So, yep, we'll plan on this the next meeting. Thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
Entertain a motion to close discussion on that.
So moved.
Second,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
On to resolution number 8, which is resolution 2025-23. Tyler.
Yeah, this is a state aid funding agreement for destination lighting at various intersections throughout Marion County. We applied for this last summer and were awarded earlier this year. So this is the Final step, $80,000 was awarded out of the 250 that we applied for. We originally applied for 13 intersections. We were awarded 4 with a contingent 5th intersection if we're able to do the 4 and still have remaining funds to be able to afford the 5th intersection. These are all county to county paved road intersections, including Vermeer Road and Highway G5T, Old 163 and G5T being the Mahaska County line, and Highway G46 and T17.
Okay, all right.
Oh, I'm sorry. And there's one more, Highway T17 and Highway 92.
So do we not have, I'm trying to think where we must have flashing ones at Old 92 and T17, but we don't have them at the new?
No, this is destination lighting. This is basically a street light.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, misunderstood.
It's not intersection lighting necessarily, with the exception of T17.
Okay,
And 92. That is more intersection lighting due to the reconfiguration that happened there last summer. We currently have a destination light there on the south side. All these other I'm sorry, I misspoke on those intersections. Those were the intersections from the flashing beacons that you approved at the last meeting.
Right.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to understand.
No, it's old Highway 163 and new 163. So this would be at Otley. A turn lane was added at this particular location.
Okay,
G76 and Highway 14. So this would be south of Knoxville. We do have an amber flashing beacon there that was installed by the Iowa DOT as an advanced warning for the intersection. Then T17 and Highway 92 and T17 and G46. And then the contingent intersection would be Orange Street and Highway 5 at Attica. This is a severely skewed intersection. It's actually fairly narrow, and I myself miss it many times because it's really hard to see.
okay,
So again, destination lighting is basically a beacon notifying you that there is an intersection. It doesn't necessarily light up the pavement like intersection lighting. So in this application, we had a few intersection lighting applications. The only one approved was Highway T17 and Highway 92, which is due to the reconfiguration there and that intersection being so wide. And again, the DOT does not do intersection lighting per Iowa code. So even if they had reconfigured the intersection and installed lighting as part of their project, it would be the county's per Iowa code. Don't ask why. I can't explain it, and it's a huge frustration.
So for clarity, are these red lights, yellow lights, flashing, non-flashing, or just white lights?
These will be,
And no new
they're
stuff,
basically,
right?
they are basically a street light,
Street light.
Street lights.
but they
Okay.
do not illuminate the pavement like you would see in an urban area.
Right.
They
So just
are
a
a
white street light.
white street light, or maybe a blue hue that you're seeing out there now that Mid-American. So Mid-American will typically be the installer with the exception of one of these, which is Pella Cooperative.
I'm assuming they're LED.
Yes. So in the end, we will cash flow this project. It's budgeted for as an expense, but it will be 100% funded through the TSEP program and this funding agreement.
I appreciate it, Tyler. Board, do you have any other questions?
Just a quick question for Tyler. Did a citizen came out to my office and Highway 14 and G44, that lighting, did they stop out there and talk to you about that? She was just concerned on that. I don't know.
No.
I didn't know whose light is that? Is that ours? Is that the state's?
Probably
Is it-
ours.
Okay. G44 and Highway 14. So I sent her out to talk to you or whatever, but she drives that road all the time. And she
Yes.
said that light was out.
Yeah, so some of those very few in the county we own.
Okay.
Most of them are Mid-Americans. And we just pay $5 a month or something like that.
Do they do the
But
maintenance? on
Very
them, or-
few do we own.
Do we?
And Mid-American does the maintenance on them, even on the ones that we own,
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
with the exception of a few that are Pella Cooperative.
But if there was problems with them, then that you would call.
They
American
maintain them,
Road.
yeah.
Okay.
Are they pretty responsive when there's a light out?
Yep. Usually it's notification, like we
Right.
don't know that it's out. We do review our destination and street lights during our nighttime retroreflectivity program. So when our sign technician is out at night doing sign retroreflectivity, he notes those intersections, but that's only a couple times a year. I don't know for sure. I'll check.
So Jason, if your guys see any out while they're out cruising, let Tyler know.
Yeah, there you go.
We're paying for them $5 a month whether they work or not, so.
All right. Any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-23.
Support.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. Item number 9 is resolution 2025-22, which is 168th Place Bridge replacement supplemental.
Yeah, so this bridge design has been ongoing for a couple of years. We are nearing the final phases of this project. We have had preliminary design and the environmental or the NEPA phase of the design complete. We are now proceeding into final design with Kirk and Michael and Associates. So this is a supplemental agreement. You know, once we understand the scope through preliminary and NEPA, we're now amending to proceed to final design, which we anticipate to happen here fairly quickly, with the project letting this fall.
Board, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Explanatory? All right, entertain a motion.
So we approve resolution 2025-22.
A second.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Item number 10, also Tyler, which is resolution 2025-27, Junction 92 shop pump project.
Yeah, so this is change order 3, including change requests 3 and 4 as part of the project. Changing the concrete reinforcement from epoxy coated steel to fiber reinforcement in the slab, and also adding structural composite fibers in the slab of the main floor, but also the topping slab of the mezzanine level. This was actually a request of the contractor to add the structural steel fibers due to some issues they've been seeing with a building of this type, where we have a lot of inside corners in the slabs, and they have cracking that they've really struggled to prevent. And the architect and structural engineer also confirmed they're seeing that as well. So we took that recommendation as approved by the structural engineer on the project. And the net of change requests 3 and 4 is a deduct on the project. So again, this is the 3rd change order for the project, all 3 being deductions. So contrary to the rumors, the project is under the bid amount with 3 deduct change orders, and still under budget also. We are way behind on schedule.
Yes, hopefully with the warmer weather, they'll be able to work some more too and get some more done, but
They have doubled up the crews this week.
they have, okay,
Yep.
good, all right.
Yeah, they're out there now.
Okay, so obviously it's a net decrease of roughly $2,500, a little less than $2,500. Board, do you have any questions for him? Not, entertain a motion.
Tyler, is there a hook in that contract that if they're not completed by a delivered date, that there is a remedial deduction on those for lack of performance?
So there is some language in the contract. There are not liquidated damages like we would typically see on a road project included in this project.
And why wouldn't there be liquidated damages?
That was
the question. Clearly, I was not here at the time, but I know those are typical in a large project.
The architect, I took the architect's recommendation on that, and due to the increase, basically the contractor's building that into their project. So in order to reduce costs up front.
Okay.
We did not include liquidated damages. Liquidated damages are also hard to recover at times. We know that from road projects as well.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-27.
I'll support.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
On to item number 11, which is also Tyler.
Yeah, so what you have before you is your review and approval of a contract termination notification letter for consulting services for Appalachian Mining and Engineering related to investigative services we had during 2024. I think starting in June of 2024 for the investigation into the causation for the sinkhole. I do not know if Jared's office has had a chance to review this. It was sent to them on drafting. The resolution and the letter are a draft. And I do believe that this step meets the contract provisions. Actually, Ross did respond to me on that. I don't know about reviewing the letter itself, but the county attorney's office did respond that these steps meet the contract that we have in place for these consulting services to terminate.
Yeah, we've had a chance to review the terms of the contract, and what Tyler's drafted is absolutely appropriate. I just want to assure everybody that this doesn't have any impact, in my estimation, on the current work that's being done out there to repair the sinkhole. This is just merely a separate contract that we had entered into before to validate some of the things that were being done.
Thank you, Jared. Yep. No, Tyler and I had visited about this, and I do think at this point it is wise that we go ahead and terminate this contract and let them know, so.
So this resolution would authorize me as the contract administrator to execute sending this letter, which is providing the 30 days notice of termination of the contract.
Yeah, hopefully the legislature, it appears that there might be some legislative action in the process of addressing these sinkholes in the future at the state level. I'm hoping that comes to fruition.
Any other questions, board? Any other comments? No, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve resolution 2025-24.
I'll second.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. On to item number 12, Marion County Workspace Study. I put this on the board, an agenda board. Chris Nestaby is going to give us an update on his findings.
Well, good morning, board. As you know, back in January, you tasked me with figuring out a baseline for our workplace study. And really all we did is we looked at available office space, reconfiguration options, and then I'd report back to you with a recommendation on moving forward in the best case scenario for workflow within the county. So what we came up with, naturally this study had really focused around our 2003 North Lincoln location, which is currently where public health is located, and 3014 in the courthouse. So no surprise to anybody, courthouse space is extremely limited. We have one available office space at the courthouse, located on 4th floor in the old county attorney's office. It is a fully functioning office. Everything is up to par on it, but that is the only office space we have available there. 3014 location here, we have one available office space in this building, which takes us to 2003 North Lincoln. And if you look at the things that will be taking place and changing, come June, we're going to have 4 additional workspaces there. I believe there's a map. Yep, there it is. And I believe you also will all have a map in front of you. So if we take the 4 Heart of Iowa location offices that will be open as of June for us, and then we look at the reconfiguration of the building, we would be up to speed with 13 office spaces available out there. First off, I want to thank Lindsay and Christina. They did a phenomenal job helping me with this. Not only were they great with having conversations and making sure everybody's on the same page and all on board, so there's no contention in this process. They also took it upon themselves to already change offices. So they've got their staff, put in centralized locations. They did a lot of the moving themselves, only called us in when they needed it, but they've done a phenomenal job helping us get to where we are.
Okay. All right.
So that being said, with 13 available office spaces when we get to June, that also includes if the board chooses to make this location a rental location, which is my recommendation, we would also
This
move
place, or are you talking?
3014.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So we would also be moving Zach with the DNR out to this location as well.
Okay.
So that would give us a total of 13 available offices there, which is more than enough space for us to move our county staff that can move. That does not include emergency management in this location. So when you think about the whole of their office space, their trailers, you think about their storage, it's not feasible to move them out to public health in my assessment. So when I talk about moving from this location, I am not talking about emergency management. All right. So what I'm talking about is the 2 additional supervisors that are here, Keisha and Steve, you're both located in this building. Jim has already been moved out to public health. So he's already there in the HR side of things. I've got a space located for Steve out there, all ready to go upon approval. And then Keisha, that'd be entirely up to you where you want to go. If you wanted to go to the courthouse or you wanted to go out to 2003 North Lincoln, we can make that happen as well.
So when you're thinking of office space, obviously that would free up down the hall. What are we looking at then for economic development?
Yep.
Are you looking at them and out at?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I've had conversations with Carla and Christopher. So this is not new information that they're going to hear today for the first time. My recommendation would be Carla's retirement is upcoming. Obviously, we wouldn't make any moves. There'd be no reason to pick up her entire life here, move her out there for a couple months. So once that time happens and her retirement takes place, I've got a great location that I've already talked over with Christopher.
Okay.
That would be actually in the heart of Iowa location, the first office next to the doors, just to the left on the east side of the building. He'd have a nice window. He would have another adjoining office with whatever staff member replaces the secondary person there, and then would also have the ability to have an additional office where they could sit down and have business leaders come in. You wouldn't necessarily have to have a conference room for them to come meet. They could actually sit down, have a nice place for that. And currently, one of the unfortunate things with how they're situated here is the items and their storage is usually incorporated within their offices. So we'd be able to give them a storage space for a lot of their equipment and brochures and things like that as well.
Can you point to me which one you're talking about?
I absolutely can. So actually, yeah, Emily's already on it. So Emily, if you go to that one right there below, that would become Christopher's office.
Okay.
And then if you go to the right, that office would be the secondary person.
Okay.
And then go just to the north of it, that would be we'll call it the conference room office for them.
Okay.
And then they'd have a storage ability. So that little nook, which has its own entrance place now, would become economic development upon the board.
Appreciate that explanation. Yep.
And then after, hearing concerns with renting out space out there, I do think 3014 is a better location for that. We already have DHS located here, which is the DHS Child Protective Services that we are required by Iowa code to house. They're already here. So if we wanted to entertain, parole board had come to us looking for space that they could get away from their current location, I think this would be an ideal location for them. Talking with Jeff and Emily, they're well aware of that, so it's not a shock to them. They're on board with that potential shift as well.
Okay.
So we do have the ability to continue to bring some income in that would cover things like utilities within the county and utilize the space that we do have here.
So we would be able to continue to utilize spaces like this. Whether, now that's another thing that we as a board would want to discuss, whether we would want to move meetings. So I have a lot of different things where I'm going through my head. We call it public health right now. I think we need to address what the name of the building is especially if we have economic development out there. We've got, board of
HR,
supervisors,
environmental
yeah,
health.
yeah. So, whether it would be Marion County, annex,
We could come up with it.
whatever, yeah. I do think that that's something that we need to look at, board. But I think it's important that we keep all the space, and I said this before, all the meeting space, whether it's on the 4th floor of the courthouse, this office, that meeting room, and then, the public health meeting room. And then board, we need to discuss whether we would want our meetings out there. It is a larger space. We have had more people starting to attend our meetings and it's not so congested. But something that, we would want to think about, we also have to think about time in which we transfer addresses and, some of us have, I think we all use the courthouse when we get mail, but then it's our physical location and then meetings, so. Yeah, Chris, you got any wisdom?
My
thoughts on that?
recommendation would be, and that was gonna be the final part of my recommendation, is that board meetings would move to the training room at Public Health.
That would be my preference.
It is a larger space. I think you're all aware of what my plan would be as far as where we'd locate instead of taking this table out there.
I
Which
like
would all,
this table.
everybody likes the table, but at the end of the day, I think one thing we have to think about long-term is, and you can all see this from your vantage point right now. If you want to make eye contact with me in the back or anybody else, you have to do this instead of just being able to look out. So my recommendation would be is in-house, we would build some sort of a platform on that south wall. So that way you folks would be able to look out over the audience, engage anybody that had a question and not play the let me see if I can see your face game. I think it does look more professional. It's not, my recommendation to build a platform is not to elevate you to
Okay,
an
please,
undue
because that
place.
was like,
It is, it's literally
That would
just from
make
a
all of us
logistical
uncomfortable.
standpoint. There's a reason that in most of these settings, and I don't care if it's in the public or private world, we see some sort of a raised platform. It is so you can engage the people.
It's to give us a better shot.
Absolutely. There you go. Secretly, that was my other reasoning behind it. But that would be my recommendation, that if the board chooses to move forward with this, we would make that.
Or others a better shot. That works both ways.
Sure.
oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, no, and that, yeah, so me personally, I said it a couple of years ago that if I was gonna move, I wanted to move back to the courthouse. And so I do think for dynamics in which where we're located, I think it's beneficial. I think it keeps separation. We are guarded a lot when it comes to, well, we have a lot on us when it comes to open meeting laws. And so that we're discussing these things in public and making sure, just as we did when it come to the healthcare, right? So I think that those things will be helpful. So I personally would move to the 4th floor. And then, yeah, if, I'm fine with that. I think we just need to think about a recommendation, when we would want to do this. And then I also do know that, Pro Office is still very much interested. They have reached out to me. And, so, they've stayed in contact. So, yeah.
And that would be go ahead, Steve.
It's gonna take a little time to get, if we're gonna have meetings, it's gonna take a little while to get that space made.
Yeah, there's some technology
something like-
things Jim and I have already had discussions on that need to get put in
And
place.
maybe we should just try to shoot for like a July 1st type
Absolutely.
setting.
That gives my department time to not only do some of the heavy lifting, so we don't have to bring a moving crew in.
Yep.
It also gives us an opportunity to get things done in-house. What I don't want to do is, put a burden on the taxpayers to make a shift, even though the shift makes sense long-term. We can do everything in-house. Let's take the time to do it in-house. The final part of that puzzle is if we're gonna make this, you're all well aware of our septic issues here, right? So my one recommendation to the board on top of the space study was if we're going to make this a rentable location, I have to every winter pump that septic tank multiple times because the line does freeze between the tank and the ditch for the
I think we'd have to limit the amount of space that we rented out for what we could handle.
I think even with the limited access that we have now, I've still pumped that multiple times this year. We
Yeah.
just pumped it again yesterday. So my recommendation to the board be, if we are gonna move forward with this, I'm gonna get some solid numbers together. I think this is actually kind of the best of both worlds. If this becomes a rental location, although there's a financial burden to get it up to snuff, that financial burden is being taken on by the fact that we'd be actually generating a revenue to not only take care of the building, but to also fix issues like that. And I think anytime we can do that, that's.
Are we talking grinder or what are we doing?
My ideal look, if I had my choice and you said, hey, free game, Chris, do it, I would remove the septic system. I would have a line board under the highway to the city sewer hookup. which I know is doable. We've discussed this
Yeah,
years
we've
ago.
talked about it before.
And then we would have a pump station here, which again is not ideal location or not ideal situation, but it is our only option. What that would give us the means to do is at minimum, I'm stocking a grinder pump on the shelf that if we have an issue, the guys and I can come out, we can swap that. Not unlike what conservation does right now at most of their locations. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. Lift stations are destined to fail. But it's a lot easier to maintain if you know that going into it. So we're not going to be caught, flat-footed. We already have lift stations that we deal with currently. The LEC does not run naturally to sewer. Jason and I have had to replace multiple pumps out there over the years. There's intensive maintenance that goes into that holding tank. So it's not something that we're not already unaccustomed to taking care of.
I think we need to probably get pricing of what that was gonna look
Absolutely.
like, yeah. I also want to make sure that the public is aware that facilities is out here. We own all this ground. This building is too nice of a building to tear down. So I think and we do need the conference space. I mean, it's just known as many meetings that have gone Zoom and, the amount of space that we need to be able to, get to, trainings and things like that. It is important that we continue to have space. So.
Yeah, and as far as a buy-in perspective, I mean, Lindsay can attest to this. We've had lots of conversations about this. I have yet to run into anybody that would be affected by this that has voiced any major concerns over what we're discussing right now. Nobody that would be affected is hearing this for the first time today. We even went through and talked about where the platform location could be out at Public Health so that during their trainings, it's actually not a hindrance to what they're continuing to do out there when they have public trainings.
Okay.
So I think we've gone about this the right way. I think we've got maximum buy-in from the people that are going to be affected by this. And I think long-term, it's the best option for the county.
But part of this puzzle, Chris, too, in the future, when Secondary Roads moves out to their new location, that space will become available for EMA.
That is something that Kale is going to talk to his board about. It's obviously something that the county and conservation specifically has to hang on to that. That's the way that property was deeded to them. Talking with Jeff and Emily, you think about location and proximity to the schools, which they spend a lot of time to. You think about the ability to have all their trailers indoors. You think about the fact that they would have an office with meeting space out there at some point in time. It is an ideal location for EMA to inevitably move out there. They'd have a sign shop that's pretty much all set up. And the reality of us having to build something new versus just do some tweaks and some upgrades to make it a functioning space makes complete sense to me. Plus, we would open up more available space here for other state agencies that are looking for space. I mean, if we have it, I would hate to see us continue to get, there's definitely a reason to get rid of buildings. I think we've done a really good job of that. I don't think this is a building we want to get rid of. I think there's a few tweaks we can do. There's some upgrading that can take place. And at the end of the day, if we can offset costs to the taxpayer by renting space out to other state agencies, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
So we have to get the blessing from the Conservation Board for all that to take place.
And which would take time.
Yeah. Just a quick update also on staffing. We've talked about this in the past, but with the mile-long bridge closing, just so you guys are aware, I've talked to Kale, but we're gonna have a deputy assigned to the north side of the lake 24 hours a day on both the day shift and night shift on stuff to be able to respond to calls and different things. So there's gonna be times we're gonna look and see, but those deputies may be stopping in and out at the learning center or out there at Cordova, as an office space. So they're not trying to drive all the way back around to the office to get on a computer or do different things that are there. So just if you guys hear that down the road, we're gonna try to have somebody up there for response in that side of it too.
Okay,
So.
thanks, Jason. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Chris, I would also like you to work with auditor's office and suggestion of what for names, because I do think it's important, especially for bills and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say the easiest thing is, we can, I mean, in my assessment, if we're asking my opinion, it's Marion County North Annex. This could be relabeled Marion County East Annex. I think we keep courthouse out of the equation because it is confusing. That would be my recommendation.
I think one of the things that was brought up to me was that there's been multiple, like, could be east out this, like, so we should do Marion County Annex 1, Marion County Annex
Absolutely.
2? Like, you know, that would, north would be one, and then we would.
I am
do-
100% good. The one thing I think we absolutely do, our signage out here is a prime example. We know it's a Marion County building, but unless you make it inside the door and then wait for the television screen to change, you have no idea who's actually located here.
Right.
So I think whatever we do, we invest a little money in proper signage that from the road or from the parking lot enables the citizens to actually see, okay, I'm out at Marion County Annex number 1 and located here is HR, public health, environmental health, and development. right?
Whatever, yeah.
And county supervisors. So we can make those incremental changes. They're not a huge cost to us or to the taxpayer, and I think it just streamlines the whole process.
No, I think that's a great idea.
I'm good with the study and what he's proposed. Okay.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Lindsay.
So,
Yeah, can I just reinforce, when the move is made or whatever the official move is, and it's for, especially for Board of Supervisor meetings, just thinking about what the actions we had earlier, there can be quite a bit of notice time for public hearing notices and dates, and we had a situation like that in the past. So please give us at least 30 days notice when, for meetings, we need to be publishing a new location in our public notices.
And
Okay.
I like the July 1 as our drop dead date, because I think it's very
Give
good
me
for
plenty
you
of
guys.
the meetings
And-
officially we wouldn't be starting our meetings out there till July 1st, as you see.
Yeah, it doesn't-
And I think that's.
To me, it's
important.
give us notice of when, because then we need to start changing our language for public hearing notices,
Yep.
be it road department, zoning, your own for whatever purposes.
Because
There's
the audio is
almost a
already
month.
set up, is that correct?
There are some IT things that we'd have to do in the training room, so if you want me to work with Mike to get those things set up, I can do that. The camera angles are not quite exactly what they would need to be, but we can work on that leading up to July 1st if you want.
I would appreciate that, Lindsay.
Sure.
Well, and I think also the setting a date like that of being July 1 then gives us clarity for that lease agreement
Mhm.
with the state for their needs as well too, so that they know they can plan on July 1, they have
Mhm.
access here. I think that would be important.
So with that, I think it'd be wise that we have like a motion that we're accepting Chris's work study suggestion. And that we're looking at a July 1 implement, I don't know if you want the July 1 just for.
I don't know if we should set that in stone or not, because it depends on how we can get stuff done.
Or sooner.
From my end, we can get the things done.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that from my.
I just don't
department
want,
side.
I just want to make sure that the public is aware the meetings wouldn't change until July 1st.
Okay.
And to Jim's point, we would have space available to, let's say, at least to the state for parole sooner than July 1. Okay, so keep that in mind that this wouldn't be just, that would be the absolute latest things would take place.
Okay.
Because we could rent space. I mean, sewer issue can be rectified. It doesn't have to be rectified prior.
Oh, right, I
So-
agree, yes.
So there are things that could take place. We could effectively be renting space much sooner than July 1, but I do agree with the July 1 for the board
Mhm.
moving out there, or the meetings per se moving out there. For sure, we'll have everything done, but that does give plenty of time and notice for people. We can start getting, mail is something that's come up a couple times. So we can get mail out there. It's just simply notifying the post office our intent. They'll come out and mark where we can put a box up, and then my department can get a box set up and we're good to go.
Yeah, IT needs to know as well. So, yes, Drew, I definitely agree, and I guess if you have thoughts, I mean, and you want to tell us, I mean, how long it would, is July 1st a workable date for you?
I mean, it should. I just probably need to just evaluate, make sure we have enough, at least like network equipment out there. But looking at the back end now, it kind of looks like we're good. Wireless wise, I just want to double check as well.
Oh, I appreciate that, and thank you for speaking up, so, okay.
Chris, we might want to just make sure that we've got enough wireless connections out there at high-speed wireless, so. Because I know so many businesses are going away from hardwired stuff. I'd hate to see us make a lot of investment in hardwire when everything is going wireless.
Have we spoken to IT about what we have here? Does that affect?
No, we still have to, that's one of the
Yeah, so
reasons.
this, that's one of the reasons, long term that it's not really viable to get rid of this location is the server setup
Right.
in this secure side of the building. To move it would be an astronomical expense.
Okay.
I think it's one more thing that lends credence to the fact that whatever we do with this building, the building does need to realistically
All right.
stay. Drew, would you second that?
Yeah, because 3014 is technically our backup site for our servers, anything
Okay.
data wise. So everything goes
I just
from the
wanted to
main site
out
here
there.
and back that way. So
Okay. Okay, board. So
I move that we accept Chris's recommendation and his layout plan for the workspace and put a preliminary due date of July 1 for completion so that all moves are made and then available space for the state for the lease.
and I will work with them on that. So I'll second that and then continue. I'll work with the state and try to get that so we can review that as a board. I'll work with you, Chris, too.
Perfect.
All right, Mueller,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
Hi.
All right. Thanks, board.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for your patience today. I know it's a little bit longer than typical in our meetings, but I wanted to bring up the Marion County Salary Study project. We had discussed this as a board, and I thought it was important that we continue our discussions. It seemed that when we did budgets this past year, it became very clear that a salary study would be very helpful for us as a board. It makes things much smoother, much cleaner. And so I wanted to bring that back up. I think that there's a few things that I would just like to say. When looking at this, I'm thinking of hiring an outside business to do this. I think this is too difficult for something to do in-house. And I want them to be able to look at job descriptions. I want them to be able to tell us like a pay grade recommendation, like classifying. And then I would also like to know, when we're looking at what type of business, how many counties have they done? I think that's very vital when looking at this. It's interesting that we have already had people reach out to us. People are listening. And so I think that I've already had people reaching out and saying, hey, we can help, we can help. So with that, I do have a kind of a unique thought about this. I think that maybe we should look at, and I'm gonna throw this out, doing a task force. Looking at going and selecting people. So when we look at doing a salary study, we first off have to say, this is not for electeds or those that are connected to the elected. So this is for all those other employees because the elected is through the Iowa code. I'm not gonna go down that right now, but it's just much easier to say. So these are for those positions. And I thought that when I was thinking about how we could tackle this, I thought I would like to hear their input. And I would like a recommendation to come to us. And when I say I want their input, I was thinking of the lines of putting this task force together and allowing them to study the companies and then giving us a recommendation, possibly 1, 2, and 3. We as board have ultimate say. It's just a recommendation, but I felt that it was important that they understand that this isn't something that we're trying to be a dictator about. We're trying to say, all right, we clearly know we're to a point that we probably shouldn't be doing this. And so I was thinking of a task force of 5 people, and I do have some names and thought, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts first.
It's never a bad thing seeking input from those that might be impacted by these kind of studies. And I absolutely agree with that. And another consideration that as a board, I think we also need to make sure is we can't solely base a decision based, and I know you're not suggesting that, but we can't solely base a decision based upon those that are impacted, their recommendations. I mean, I get the 1, 2, and 3, but also I think you need to make sure that we ask for an RFP so
Correct.
that
Yep.
we're making sure that we're getting the greatest amount of results for each dollar that we commit to this. And we also need to look at their history and their performance in past experiences where those that are on the board or the task force may not always be looking at what did they provide in the past, what did they do in the past, what is their experience. I think as a board, we need to make sure that we are contingent and focused on those things as well. So it's not always just about money, but it's also about their ability and the deliverable that they bring to the table.
Correct.
And yes, we need to make sure that those that are
The
impacted
cost of what
also
it takes to do this, yeah.
Exactly. So if we look at that as a three-pronged approach, the task force, absolutely yes, for those that are impacted. But also I would recommend an RFP for those groups for consideration by us. And then also, what's their history? I mean, I don't want, Jack and Jill Consulting out there that's never
Correct.
done this before to come in and lowball something and they have no idea what they're doing. And they need to make sure that they're going to be able to provide the deliverable in the timeline that we need it. Because if we're into budget session next year, without this survey, then we've wasted our time. We've wasted our money. We need this thing done and in the book and everybody agreed to long before budget session.
Correct. Steve, got any thoughts?
No, I agree with what Jim's saying. I mean, this can't just be a comparison of salaries. It has to be a full-blown study of what the job actually entails and what's required to do the job.
And descriptions, job descriptions, absolutely.
Yep. So when I looked at this, task force and I pretty much, I looked at it at buildings and so this is just me throwing out there, okay? So like courthouse, they would have a representative, okay? I would consider, and I would like, I know she's not here with us today, so I'm sure she's gonna be hearing about this rather soon, but it would be Missy Poffenberger. She's online. I would like her to be considered, the board is on this task force. For road department, I would like Tyler to be on this task force. The public health building, I would like Christina to be considered on this task force. Sheriff's department, I would like Michelle to be considered on this task force. And then 3014, I would like Chris to be considered. So that's 5 people. This would be a meeting that I do have some names. This would be exploring. And as Jim said, doing the RFP process, we need to make sure that we need to know that they can do everything that we've kind of discussed about. We need to know costs because that's another thing. And then you could present to us a recommendation. Now, board, I don't know how long you want to consider giving them and doing this, or if you even want to go with this task force. I have not talked to these people. They're hearing it when I'm bringing it up. So we may have some, I don't want to do this. But I did methodically try to think about this and I did try to think about representation and
What's the task force function in all this?
yep, the task force is to explore these companies, as Jim's talked about, and
Explore
this
the
in-
companies that we might consider hiring to do the wage study.
Yep.
Okay.
And then ultimately, we're gonna board and then we're gonna, because we have HR too that we will be working with. But and Lisa, please do not feel like you're being excluded. I just felt like this task force would be a way of people seeing what companies are actually out there and what they can do. And this is classifying and to be able to classify and then present back to us as a board. This could take some time. I will say Lisa would also have to be able to tell this group how many job descriptions we would need, because that is there is an expense when it comes to job descriptions. So, but it has been quite some time since we've had some of them updated. And so,
And that, one other thing that, especially after going through the budget sessions, there are funds that are already budgeted for a project like this, that this is not an add-on. This is something that has already been budgeted and planned for. So this is not something new that we're just going rogue on everybody.
yeah. And if we have to, if we could start the process this year, we still have some funds in there. And then if we have to go into next year, because we know that it is going to take some time to be able to do this. So.
I would also point out that even if a wage study is done, it may not guarantee a wage increase for everybody.
I totally agree with that. I've experienced these, and a lot of times what they end up with is a range for a job function. And then they have, this is your baseline, and then this is top of scale. And once you're at top of scale, you're at top of scale. You get COLA, potentially, cost of living, and that's it. But it's equally and fairly, I know we kind of threw that number out, but it's equally and fairly applied, no matter where you are, when you were hired, or what jobs you do. So this is the only way, in my opinion, that we can do this. And I think I appreciate all of the forethought, Keisha, that you put through in doing this. And I personally didn't come up with the task force idea, but I like that. And I think it's fairly represented for all the different areas. So I'm in agreement and say, I'm sure there are a ton of companies out there that do this, that, as the word gets out, or as we reach out for RFP or input, we're going to be deluged with people that want to participate with this. I would recommend that we reach out to ISAC and those kind of guys and say, what has your experience been? Who do you recommend?
Correct. And I know Jason also talked about, I think it was Allers and Cooning or something you said that you had made mention that some of this could be done. But I do think that it is something that we look at, and I think it's being responsible. I think it's being responsible not only to the taxpayer, but also being responsible to our staff, and trying to look at this and know that during budget session, it was challenging. But I do think that this process, and more counties are going to things like this. So with that, that's all I have. If you're willing to accept my task force idea, and then I think we need to consider timeframe. Would you like them to, come back to us and, by the last meeting in April? How long is enough time? 60 days enough is,
I'll agree with Jim. If we're gonna do this, we need to get it before the next budget session, but as far as the task force, I don't know, June or May,
Tyler?
Since my name was mentioned, 60 days is not enough.
Right.
If you're gonna do our
Spring work is looming real big right now.
Yeah, just the fact of establishing.
I know you have to establish your committee, and then you also have to consider, I do think somebody's gonna have to kind of take some charge and delegate of who's going to do some research. And I do think it's important that if it were me, I would be looking at saying, okay, we have this many companies, reach out to them and explore, and then come back and.
And what was the 60-day comment? Was that to establish the RFP or to
Make
have
a
the
recommendation.
project complete?
Well, I was just saying, if you wanted, if I'm trying to find out from the board what they felt comfortable. Whether 60, 90, I don't know. In how long we're looking at for time.
Because we need to also remember, whoever is selected for the provider for the analysis, they're gonna have time to be able to come in and get to know everybody, create all that, do all their recommendations. Now, some of this stuff, I'm quite sure is gonna be formulated things that are generally accepted within so many departments and those kind of things as well. But they're gonna have time to develop all the job descriptions and everything as well. So, it's not gonna be okay, you get 90 days and then these guys get 60 days to do it. No, it's gonna take 60 or 90 days to do this piece. And then they're gonna need 6 months.
Okay. And the task force I mean, will we have a board representative to come to, or are you going to establish some criteria of what it is exactly the task force is being tasked with?
Right, that's
Because
what we're
you
discussing
mentioned
it right
job
now.
descriptions, well, are we asking them to, here are our job descriptions, rewrite them
So hang
or
on,
provide
so,
input?
right, so most
is
of the
it-
times what happens is you're gonna find that, you gotta give them the number of job descriptions, cause that's how they're gonna come up with their RFP. And so you have to be able to say, we want you to do job descriptions for us, okay? You as the task force are not going to do job description. You're just going out and researching these companies to see and saying, hey, board, this is who we would like,
Right,
this is
what
our
does
recommendation.
doing job description, what does that mean?
Go ahead, Lisa. So you need the mic though.
So we've not been through this, but I've been through the process of up to getting the company. And what the company that we had looked at was they would come meet with you as a department head, then they would also meet with the employees, then they would come back to the department head. There'd be a lot of interaction between the company and the department heads and employees. Then they would also make sure our classifications are up to date. Are they exempt, non-exempt? That is a huge issue that we need to make sure that everybody is classified correctly. So, to Jim's point, 6 months, yeah, if the company's ready to go, it could take a lot of time to come back and forth with your input. So that the task force would be looking at what their process is, how they would get their information, would they come on site, how much would they come on site? And that, does that answer your question?
Yes. I'm just following up on Tyler's question. I think it almost sounds like there's two separate things. I mean, the salary study is one thing when you're comparing deputies across the state per se, but you're also looking at them rewriting a deputy's description of what their job duties are.
So when we look at this, we have to look at, we definitely have to have some job descriptions updated. We know that for sure. And I think it's important that we have it encompass everything when it comes to this. And I also think that RFP needs to be able to have, it's not two different things. They do this, and then that's how they also help us with classification. And then they classify jobs. And then we know that classification, what I have seen is then that classification has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, through year 25 or whatever it may be. And then you kind of know, it makes the process much more simplified.
No, I understand the concept. I think, and I'm not sure what Tyler was asking here, but I think it's the same thing as I'm asking. There might be already,
They may already be updated.
Muscatine County might have already just did a new job description
Mhm.
of deputy, but you're saying ours could be different than what that job duty of a deputy in Muscatine County versus the deputy in Marion County. I mean, we're gonna have them redo it for us.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's really square one, is define the job.
We really do need to move fairly quickly and
Yes,
get an
that's what we know that-
RFP
yeah.
out. So
Yeah, we
60
got no-
days for the
Request
RFP
RFP.
is
We
not realistic.
Yeah, yeah.
We got no
60
time to
days for the
waste.
project completion is not.
No one is expecting that.
Yeah,
This,
okay.
this needs to be completed at least 30 days before budget time, so that we've got our legs under us,
Yeah,
so
you
that
gotta
we
be
can
able,
look at it and make sure that we're ready for budgets.
yeah, you gotta
And
have
you
time to
guys, as a
digest
task
it.
force, you can invite the HR person to come and be at your meeting and ask questions. It's just that I think that it's one of those things that you're the task force. When you guys, at the end, you're gonna be presenting to us what you would recommend, okay? Again, I will stress, we as a board get final decision, okay?
Okay, so my earlier question, will we revisit this once the task force is established with the board, or we just need to get everything on paper today of what we're being tasked to do as the task force? Because I heard many things there about,
You did, yep.
pay matrix, job classification, pay scale. Is it wages or is it total compensation? Is it job description? It sounds like we covered the job description thing, but is it comparing to private sector or just to other government entities in similar classifications? I mean,
Something that most likely is gonna be a big picture.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
I would agree. And I think to your question earlier too, is I think it would probably be good to have at least a board member that's an advisory, not necessarily a participant, but somebody that can field questions that are generated.
Yeah.
So you don't have to come back to the full board every 2 weeks and say,
Yeah.
okay, we had this question about X. No, you know what, have an advisory board member that's not necessarily gonna participate, but just to help field those questions and give direction.
Yep, and I'm fine, and that's good. That's kind of what I was envisioning, is that you guys would then have this task force, but if you needed HR, if you needed myself, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
If you needed somebody, then you would be like, hey, I need to bring you in and we've got questions.
And typically when we would do RFPs for consultant selection in engineering, in the engineering world, we do interviews. Is the expectation that we would interview these firms or simply go based off the RFP?
That would be up to the group.
Up to the
I would
task force.
think. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Nope,
speak
nope,
for
you're-
you,
yep,
but
yep.
if there's a clear winner, that makes it very easy and quick, but I'd be surprised if there was
So
there's always tons of
I
consideration.
know that this is a new concept for you guys, but I also want you to
Well, I
understand
mean,
that I think.
It isn't in this
No, meaning
with the
like.
topic.
Yes, right, and it's the task force idea. I just think, I want you to understand that I feel that it's important that we're working together and that it's something that I'm hearing from you, okay? And that you guys are part of this, because ultimately it affects your salaries more than it does ours, right? I mean, as a board, ours is done by code, and so, and I also think that it's important that the task force are those that are not set by code, so.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to, I agree. I'm not trying to be argumentative or argue. I'm just trying to get a clear understanding of what
Sure.
the
You're fine.
task force is to do, because I think I'm the only one in the room that was named, so.
No, Chris is behind you. Chris.
Sorry, buddy.
He's got your back.
Yeah.
You
Chris-
really have a leader though, folks, can you tell?
Chris, you raised your hand earlier. Did you have a question?
Tyler, he wanted to.
Okay, all right.
I just wanted to talk, I wanted to make sure since you had to look around heads.
Tyler, quit being argumentative.
What's that?
Quit being argumentative.
Sorry.
So realistically, probably 90 days, we need to be thinking about, trying to come back and saying, hey, this is kind of, and guys, if at the end of the day, if we're really struggling and you're saying that, I mean, you're saying, hey, this is gonna take a lot longer. I respect that.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yep.
don't think we're reinventing the wheel.
Right.
I mean, other counties have done it. Lisa's been partially down the road. I've been through many RFP situations on both sides of the fence. It's just a different subject matter.
It would be nice to have it all done by next budget season, but if we don't, we'll fight that battle when we get there.
Well, I think.
I really don't want to,
Yeah, I
I
think.
will tell you that.
Goal, I mean,
I don't
I
want
think as
to either.
department heads, we've been wanting this for
If we don't,
5, 6 years or a decade.
if we don't have it by next budget session, it's your fault.
On the record.
So Tyler, do you understand? That, yeah, so the task force, and if you're, willing, you're gonna, if we, as a board, I'm willing to take that motion, but if Tyler is then, somebody's willing to send out an email, and to start that process and to consider meeting, so. Yes. And you include, once your task force meets, then you determine who you want to include. I am more than happy, I'm assuming Jim is more than happy, who you want, if you want the board of supervisor to be within your meeting, so, okay? We're not going to be your voting member type thing, you're there to ask
Advisory.
questions. Advisory, that's a very good term, so, right?
could you quickly give me the list one more time, since I'll send.
It'll be in the notes.
You have a list?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't write it down.
Yep, no, it's okay. Courthouse is Missy Poffenberger. Roads Department is Tyler. Public Health is Christina.
North Annex.
North Annex is Christina. Sheriff's Department, Michelle.
Okay.
And 3014 is Chris.
Gotcha, thank you.
I move that we create a task force to investigate a salary study for the Marion County to be submitted back to the Board of Supervisors within a 60 to 90-day timeframe, so that we can consider a salary program or process to be implemented within the county prior to the next board, before the next budget session.
I'll second.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Mueller.
Aye.
Great, robust discussion, everyone. I appreciate you. Board of Supervisor updates.
I have a HERDA meeting Thursday.
None for me?
I have EMA and 911 meeting this week. I also wanted to make sure that the board was aware, forgot to mention this the last meeting. Mr. Nardini reached out to me, and contacted us about the lost agreement. It is not up until 12/31. I told him that I wanted to wait until after the legislative session to discuss this. But I wanted to make sure you as a board were aware of that. So we just never know what legislation is going to do. So that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn?
Second.
McCombs. Aye. Mueller.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye, sorry. I was caught making sure something didn't.